here. What I'm going to show you now are some choreographed fighting sequences that are both defensive and offensive, and the lessons are a vehicle in terms of learning different ways to manipulate an opponent by blocking, punching, kicking, doing leverages, flips, and throws. There's some important things to understand about practicing lessons, though. Number one is that though I give you, let's say I gave you 20 or 30 lessons, it's important that you understand that if you have that many lessons, you really have 400 or 500 lessons, because you can change so many different techniques within a lesson in so many different ways. It allows you to vary the techniques and use them in different sequences. And so when you get a lesson, it really leads you to a spot where you're going to begin to what I'm going to call working out, and that's where you're just going to react to a man's punch or kick or grab or whatever he might do to attack you. You're going to know many different options that you'll have in terms of defending against an attack. A couple of things that you need to understand is that, first off, it's important for an opponent that you're working with to practice a lesson to respond. So if I kick his shin, there's not a man in the world that's not going to respond to this kind of pain. In other words, that he's going to bend and grab his shin. It's just like if I accidentally burned my finger on an iron, I wouldn't grab my ear, I'd grab my finger, because that's what I burned. If I punch a man in the groin, he bends. He's got to. There's no man that if I hit him in the groin, that he would not bend so that I could punch him in another place maybe. So those kinds of reactions are very important. If a man punches at me and I block and I strike his kidney, he's going to move towards his kidney. It's going to arch his back. If I hit him in the center of the back, it arches him back evenly, see, for me to do something like a sweep or something of that nature. So there's many ways that you've got to, many things that you've got to learn in terms of reacting. So it's important that when a man punches and you're practicing a lesson, I block, I strike his groin maybe, I uppercut to bring him back up. Maybe now what I do is to knock this leg out, see? And then I stomp his ankle or whatever. But he has to react to everything, because if you did this, if I don't react, if I punch to his groin and then went to punch to his nose, well, his nose shouldn't be up there. So I'm practicing wrong. It should be, I punch him to the groin, his nose is right here. That's where I punch. All right. The next thing that you want to do is make sure that you work with a lot of different opponents. Whatever this guy feels like he might do with that punch is not what the next guy might do. The next guy, if I hit him to the groin, maybe he falls to the ground because he feels, I hit him hard enough that he'd go to the ground. Well, when I'm working out, then I need to be able to respond to that. So I'd follow up with techniques that I know for a man who's on the ground. As far as an opponent, you want somebody to punch at you. I've given you both, I'm giving you lessons that are both for somebody who's able-bodied or standing on their feet and somebody who is using a chair. I've done this because I want you to defend yourself against a man who's on his feet, against somebody who's considered able-bodied, so that your confidence is real. So that you don't think, well, gee, I've just defended myself against other guys in wheelchairs. But then your confidence isn't quite as sharp, quite as edge. All of a sudden, a 6'6", 200-pound man steps in front of you, and you're thinking, well, gee, I've never fought anybody that big. So it's important that you use opponents that are tall and that are small and that are heavy and that are light and that are wiry and awkward. All those kinds of combinations allow you to become a better fighter, because then when you go out on the street, that's the kind of people you meet. As far as punching, I want it to be a punch that he doesn't start in some kind of fighting stance. I want him to be natural. This is how you argue with a man. If you're arguing with a man here, it's too late. You should have kicked him. You should have punched him. See? So when he gets ready to punch, real slow, he just steps in and punches. Boom, and you block and strike. Don't get into a set position where he's got one hand on his hip and he draws back and comes in to punch at you. You're going to become a better fighter than that. So to start off slow, learn to link the steps together within the lessons. And as he punches, because since he's not going to go fast, you're going to still have time to block and punch and follow through. See, however you might want to. You want to practice a lesson slow. You want to practice it fast. You want to practice it and make sure that when you do practice it fast, that you maintain the integrity of the lesson. Don't move so fast that there is no focus or sharpness to your strikes. If he punches and you like this, and I didn't have any focus, I didn't even come close to hitting him. It needs to be fast. I'm striking right here. He punches here. I'm striking right here. I strike his groin. See, I punch right to his nose. So when you're practicing a lesson, practice it fast. Well, we'll first practice it slow, then practice it fast. Change the techniques around, make them fit you maybe a little bit better. Maybe your strengths are my strengths, so you need to change a little bit in order to make it stronger for you, more practical for you. And so here are some lessons. The next basic skill I'd like to introduce to you are called rolls and falls. And it's very important for an able-bodied person to know how to roll and how to fall. It's important for a disabled person to know how to do these things too. That fall recovery is usually something that's explained in a rehabilitation setting where they're learning those kinds of skills. But for an able-bodied person, it's very important when you're working out that you know how to properly fall, because if you start to fall and you go down on your hands and you're going to injure your wrist, maybe your elbow or shoulder, or maybe you fall wrong and hit your head or fall back and land straight on your tailbone or your spine. So I'm going to give you some ways that to roll that and fall that will protect you, so that when you're doing those kinds of things, you won't get hurt. So the first thing I'm going to show you is just going to be a fall back. It's the easiest to learn. And what you're going to do, and for instance, he's going to tuck his right leg slightly behind. He's going to begin to go down, and what he's going to do is roll back onto his left hip so that he doesn't go straight down on his spine. When he goes down, if you'll notice, what he does is he lets his arms go out to help disperse the weight evenly, and he breathes out and holds his head up. And he keeps this leg up high. If he fell for whatever reason and needed to kick, that leg is ready. So again, real slow. He tucks his leg back behind, goes down, falls on one hip, and keeps his head up, and breathe out as you fall. If you hold your breath, it'll get knocked out of you. If you breathe out, then you can control it. Next fall is called a side fall. Remember, you're not falling from way up here. You're tucking a leg and beginning to go down so that you're falling from a lower point. So the same kind of start. What you're doing is you're tucking your leg back behind you, and you fall to the side over. Just follow your leg out and land on your side, extending your arm out in front of you. And if he falls the other way, just tucks his leg back and fall out. Remember to breathe out as you fall. Next is a fall forward. What he's going to do here is to start really, to learn this, what you should do is to start on your knees. You're going to get on your knees. You're going to remember to turn your head out so that your nose doesn't get planted into the ground. You're going to fall at the same time against your hand and forearm. You don't want to go straight out. You want them to be flat against the ground. So as he falls, turns his head out, keeps his hips slightly up so that his groin doesn't get forced into the ground. Remember, start from your knees, and he falls forward, breathe out, turn your head. Either way, doesn't matter. Next is going to be a forward roll. This is probably one of the more difficult things to learn. Have you back up a little bit. From here, what he's going to do And this is something that you can begin from a crouched position to begin learning. So he's just going to get crouched, and what you're going to do is just follow your arm, and it's called a shoulder roll. You want to tuck your arm underneath your legs and across your body and roll. You're rolling over from shoulder across to your hip so that you're not going directly along the line of your spine. You will slightly roll across it, but this is better protection than coming straight down across it. So again, from a crouched position, he rolls following his arm. It's called a shoulder roll. Then from a standing position, he just rolls. The last roll I'd like to show you is called a backward roll. What you're going to do, this starts out just like the fall does. You tuck a leg, you go back down on one hip, and you make yourself move with enough momentum that you come back up and you're ready to go. So that if I were to step in, for instance, and push a man down, see, he would just roll. So if I was still after him, he's up and ready to fight. Next, what I'd like to show you is an offensive lesson. There are times when you may need to be offensive. For instance, he may have a couple of guys behind him that's ready to hurt you. He may just bring his hands up like he was going to punch me and I kick him, see? So there's times when you really have to be offensive, and it doesn't mean that you started the fight, but it certainly means that you're going to defend yourself. So here what I'm doing is I'm going to kick to his shin here. I backhand to his nose to bring him up. With my left, I punch right underneath the heart to expose his collarbone here. Now I hammer to break that. From here, what I do is I stomp to his groin, grab his hair here, and I strike his head into my chair, right here. So what I do is I'm kicking to his shin here. I want to use the corner of my chair, or if my feet are apart, I'm going to use right in the middle. But for me, I'm going to use the corner of my chair to strike his shin here to bring him down. Now I backhand. Punch with my left to the heart, hammer right into the collarbone. You want to strike him so that it breaks. You're going to stomp to the groin, grab his hair here, and strike his head. So from here, yeah! Here's the same offensive lesson. What you're going to do here is you're going to soccer kick to his shin. Brings him down. What you're going to do is you're going to step back as you backhand. Make sure you time those two things together. Now you're going to step in and punch to the heart. From here, what you're going to do is hammer down against the collarbone. Opponent's down. Now from here, what you're going to do is you're going to front snap kick. This time use the heel to kick into the groin. You're going to step off, pivoting so that your back is to him, and then back kick to his eye. Again, using the heel. So from here, it's a soccer kick to his shin. That brings the opponent's head down. Now step back and backhand to bring his head back up so that you can punch right into the heart. So you step in and punch. From here, what you're going to do is to hammer down. Break his collarbone. You're going to step in and left front snap kick with your heel to the groin, and then back kick to the eye. With some speed. In this particular technique, what you're going to do is you're going to be spinning. As the opponent punches, you're going to block, strike, turn, and strike up into his groin. From here, what you're going to do is you're going to grab his hair, turn out to bring the opponent on his back, and slap. What you're doing is you're striking right with the palm of your hand right into his nose here. So he punches, 1, 2, spin, 3. Grab his hair. You're going to turn him this way, and you slap here. It's very difficult to do slow because you lose some of the momentum. So when he punches, 1, 2, see, I'm still moving this way. Now it's here, slap. So with a little speed, in this lesson, what's going to happen is that as the opponent begins to punch, the side kick is executed. He's going to step down, putting his heel towards the opponent so that he can back kick into his groin. And what he does is he steps down, grabs his hair with the left, step in with the right, and then back with the left, twisting the opponent to the ground. Now it's a right slap to the nose. Again, the opponent punches, side kick into the ribs. Step down, pointing your heel at your opponent, back kick into the groin. Grab his hair with your left as you step down with your left, step in with your right, back with your left, and take the opponent down. Slap down to his nose. One time with some speed. This particular lesson is going to be defending against a kick. When I block a kick, I really don't want to block it out here. If he starts to kick at me and I try to block this kick right here, it's pretty powerful right there. So what I'd rather do is to move inside, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to double cross block, striking him right at the knee. At the very least, it's going to block it, and most likely it would break it if I hit it hard enough. So as he kicks, I move in here. Now what I do is punch to his groin. Now I elbow to get him down. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab his leg and I'm going to throw it over to turn him on his stomach. Move in, and you're going to punch right into the spine here. See? So he kicks. I block him, strike. From here, I elbow. I step in. I grab his pant leg to roll him over. You've got to whip it over to get him on his stomach. Move in, and punch right here into his spine. No, maybe I wouldn't want to hit a man in the spine, but maybe I would. You've got to understand that there are a lot of vulnerable places on this man's body, and you've got to know them all so that maybe this man was trying to kill you. So, you're going to hit him and hurt him in such a way that he's not going to jump right back up. Or maybe there's 4 or 5 of them trying to kill you. So if I hit him so that he can't get back up, I don't have to worry about him anymore. So with some speed, he kicks. This next lesson is to defend against a kick. This is a front snap kick. It's as if the opponent was going to kick at me. As he kicks, I'm blocking the kick out, pulling him just slightly to punch to the groin. I'm going to turn back, grabbing his hair with my left hand. My right hand grabs his chin, and I twist him down. I continue my motion this way, move in, punch to the side of the neck, and scrape to his ear here. Again, real slow. He kicks, I block, punch.
Left hand grabs his hair, right hand reaches. I don't try and reach this way, I turn his head up because I've got a hold of his hair. Grab his chin with my right hand and take him back behind me. Now I spin, punch, and scrape to his ear with my footrest. With some speed, he kicks. Yeah. From a standing position, as the opponent kicks, takes a right step out to block, into a cat stance, he kicks to the groin. He steps in, and as the left hand grabs his hair, he turns his head, right hand grabs the chin, he drops down to his right knee. He punches into the eye, stands back up, and with his right heel, scrapes to the side of his face. Again, real slow, he takes a right step out to get out of the way of the kick as he blocks. Into a left cat. He kicks, front snap kick to the groin, left hand grabs the hair, right hand grabs the chin, and he steps back down to his right knee. Punches to the eye, stands back up, and scrapes to the side of the face. With some speed. This particular defense is off of a hooking heel kick. As he kicks, I double cross block to bring his leg down. I reach underneath with my right hand and I pull his groin here. I'm going to hammer right to the middle of his back to bring his head up. What I'm going to do now is to reach around and I'm going to use my forearm into his throat to choke him here. So as he kicks, double cross block. I grab to the groin to tear here. I hammer right to the middle of the back because I want him to come straight back up. I'm coming around and with my wrist or forearm, I come into his throat to choke him here. Some speed, he kicks. From a standing position, the man throws a hooking heel kick. You cross block, stepping out of the way into a cat stance. You kick up into the groin from behind. It's a front snap kick. You're going to step in, hammer to the center of his back, which brings his head up. You're going to step in, grab his hair, come around with your right arm, putting your forearm into his throat, grab your fist, and hang him. Again, the opponent kicks. Double cross block as you step out of the way into a right cat. Kick up into the groin. You're going to step in and hammer. Brings the opponent down to his knee and brings his head up. You grab the hair with your left, come around with your right forearm into his throat to choke. With some speed. This is defense against a roundhouse kick. This time what you're going to do is duck under the kick. You've got to move forward and underneath his leg. As he begins to kick, I move under and I slap to his groin. Hammer to his kidney. I'm going to move slightly forward to chop to his throat. I'm going to spin here, punch to his groin, and my thumb and forefinger go into his eyes. Again, he kicks, come underneath, slap to the groin, hammer down to the kidney, move slightly forward to get a good angle at his throat, chop. Don't spin this way, his legs are there. Spin out this way, punch to his groin, finger and thumb into his eye. With some speed, he kicks. Duck under this kick, you're going to have to get really low. So as the opponent kicks, go low, slap to the groin. You now right hammer down to his kidney. You're going to step forward, chop to the throat. From here, you're going to pivot, hammer to the groin, strike into the eyes with thumb and forefinger. So opponent kicks, duck under, slap to the groin. Come up as you hammer. Going to take a step forward, chop, hammer down to the groin, pivot, put your thumb and forefinger in his eyes. With some speed, he kicks. It's a block for a spinning side kick. As the opponent kicks, I move slightly back, I block, moving his leg out, I punch to the groin. I'm going to grab onto his shoulder, and with my hand in this position, right at this spot here with my hand, I'm going to strike up into his throat, just to raise him up a little bit. I'm going to reach to the inside to grab low on his leg, and I'm going to push here, pull his leg out. I'm going to move in to trap this leg here. As I punch to the groin with my right, I slash into his eye here with the edge of my hand. It's a chopping strike here. Again, real slow. He kicks, moves slightly back, block it out, punch into his groin. Left hand grabs. I strike up into his throat to raise him up. From here, keep my hand right in front of me and against his chest. Grab low on his pant leg. Sweep him out. Trap this leg. Punch to the groin and chop to the eye. Some speed, he kicks. From a standing position, as the opponent throws a spinning side kick, you step back, block it out. This is a down windmill block. You're going to do a right front snap kick into the groin. Going to grab his hair with your left, step in, strike up into the throat with your right. You're going to move in from there, grabbing his shoulder, step in with your left foot. Your right foot's going to sweep his other leg out as your left hand pulls up on his right leg. Punch into the groin, and then chop to his eye. Again, as the opponent kicks, down windmill block to carry the kick out. He then kicks into the groin. Left hand grabs the hair, strikes up into the throat, grabs his shoulder, left hand grabs his leg, right leg sweeps his other one out, punch to the groin with your right, chop to the eye with your right. With some speed, the opponent kicks. In this particular lesson, what you're going to be doing is stepping outside of the punch. You're not really going to block the punch, you're just slipping the punch and going to take him down immediately. As the opponent punches, I'm not blocking, I'm just getting my guard up, making sure I know where that punch is at. I'm going to strike to his kidney, bringing his head down. I'm going to grab his hair, bring him down here, and then to stomp. Again, he punches, block, strike to his kidney. Grab his hair to bring him down and stomp here. So some speed, he punches. From a standing position, to slip this punch, what you're going to do is you're going to step out with your right foot. As the opponent punches, step out with your right, blocking with your left. You're going to slide your foot up to get your balance. Grabbing his hair, you take the opponent down, putting pressure on his neck. From here, you're going to punch to the bridge of his nose with your right. Again, this is just slipping a punch, real slow. As the opponent punches, you go right to his hair. You're getting out of the way of the punch. Stepping out with your right foot, and step up with your left, drop down to your right knee, take the opponent down, punch into his bridge of his nose. With some speed. This particular lesson, what you're going to do is slip the punch again, but instead of going to his hair, you're going to go to his eyes. So as he punches, I block, strike to bring his head down. I put my fingers in his eyes here, bring him straight down. From here, move in, punch into the nose here. As the opponent punches, block, strike here. I come up, putting my fingers into his eyes. Take him straight down. Don't take him back. He'll move away from you. Move in from here, punch right into the nose. With some speed, he punches. From a standing position, this technique again, you're going to slip the punch. As the opponent punches, step out with your right, let your left foot slide up. You're going right to his eye with your left hand. Your right hand comes around to grab his other eye. You're then going to step back, taking the opponent straight down. Punch into his nose from there with your right, trapping his arm to protect your groin. Again, he punches, block, go right to his eye, step back, take him down. Trap his arm with your left as you punch with his right. You haven't really hurt him yet, so you got to make sure that he doesn't strike you in the groin. With some speed. This particular lesson, again, you're going to slip the punch. As he punches, I'm moving out of the way, putting my arm up. I immediately slip underneath and come high to his shoulder. I'm going to swing into the back of his leg with my chair to take his leg out. I hold on to his arm here. I'm going to break across my chair here and then backhand. He punches, block, come underneath immediately. I take him out with my chair against his leg. From here, break and backhand here. With some speed. From this position, what you're going to do is slip the block. As the opponent punches, you're blocking, and what you're going to do is you're going to come around to his other arm, come underneath, putting your foot behind his leg so that you can sweep it out as you take the opponent down. Then you're going to move in, punch to the ribs, kick to the face. Again, the opponent punches, step out, come underneath his arm, and make sure that your leg is behind his so that you can sweep it out. Punch into the ribs, kick to the face. With some speed.
Hey! Hey! Get it!
Here's some techniques for a cane. It's very important that you understand that if you have something in your hands, anything that you have in your hands can be used as a weapon. But if you pick up, for instance, if it's a cane, if you pick it up and hold it in this kind of position, you've already alerted your opponent that you're ready to defend yourself. Now, if he is without a stick or a cane or a weapon, he's going to get one. So don't bring the weapon up in this manner. Just hold it here so that it's not threatening. As the opponent punches, you're going to strike into his groin. You're going to move in, put the cane in the other hand, turning it upside down, place it against his throat, grab his hair, and push down to choke him. This is a controlling move. He can't punch me from here. If he tries to punch, see, I just move him down. So again, he punches, strike. I've got a lot of distance. He can't reach me from here. From here, I change hands with the cane, turning it upside down, put this in his throat, grab his hair, and pull. With some speed, he punches. From standing position, the same technique. As the opponent steps in to punch, strike up into his groin, stepping out with your left foot. Then change hands with the cane, turning it upside down, put it into his throat as you grab his hair, and push his head down into the cane so that you're choking him. As the opponent punches, he strikes up into the groin with the cane, stepping out with his left foot into a left horse. He then changes hands, turning the cane upside down, grabs the hair with his right hand, placing the cane in his throat, pushes it down to choke. Again, as the opponent punches, he strikes into the groin, turns the cane upside down, placing it in his throat, steps in, pushes his head down to choke. With some speed. This time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be holding the cane here, but not in a threatening manner where I've got it up and I've got a fist and I look like I'm ready to fight. Just holding it here about halfway, because what I'm going to do is he punches, I'm going to slip behind this man, I'm going to come up under his groin and pull. From here, I'm going to let the cane drop as I hammer to his kidney. I'm going to come around his throat as my left hand grabs here. I'm going to take him down this way. I'm going to lift his head and punch here. So as he punches, I move to the outside. I come underneath between his legs and I come into his groin. Let the cane drop as you hammer here. You're going to come around to his throat. Your left hand is grabbing his shoulder to control him and take him down. From here, I lift his head and punch into the temple here. He punches, Here, the same technique. As the opponent punches, he's going to step out with his right, going into a left cat. He comes underneath the groin with the cane and pulls. From here, he lets the cane drop as he hammers to the back. Wrap it around his throat as you grab with your left hand to his shoulder. Take the opponent down, and from here, punch to the temple. Again, as the opponent punches, steps out with the right into a left cat, come into the groin with the cane. Let the cane drop as you left hammer. You're going to wrap around his throat as your left hand grabs his shoulder. Bring him around and punch into the temple. With some speed, he punches. From here, what you're going to do with the cane, as the opponent punches, you're going to block out and you're going to strike into his knee. Now, all his weight is on this leg, so you're going to have to take him off balance. So what I do is I change the cane into my left hand. I give him a shove to take his weight off of that leg. From here, I move in, I strike to his groin, and I strike here into his head. Again, he punches, I block here. Strike into his knee. Change the cane into my left hand, hook it around his ankle low. Give him a push to take it out. From here, step in here, and I strike here. With some speed, he punches. From here, the similar kind of technique. As the opponent punches, he outblocks with the cane to his arm and now strikes to the knee, bringing the opponent down. Again, all his weight is on that leg. As he changes hands with the cane, hooks it around his ankle, he's going to push him off balance so that he can sweep that leg out. From here, he's going to kick to the groin with his left. As he steps down, he's going to strike into the temple with the cane. Again, the opponent punches, he outblocks, stepping out with his left and strikes down into the knee. Changes hands with the cane, takes him off balance to sweep the leg out, then kicks into the groin, steps down as he strikes. Those two movements are timed. With some speed, he punches. The next thing I'd like to explain to you is how to use different items that look like ordinary items, but in the hands of a fighter is a very deadly weapon. Something such as a ballpoint pen. It's extremely dangerous. It doesn't look threatening. If I was walking down the street, maybe 3 or 4 guys approached me, I pull this pen out of my pocket like I was nervous. It's important that you understand that you've got to practice with an item like this, that if you just thought, well, yeah, I know how to use that, that's not the way it is. You've got to pick something up in your hand and figure out different ways to use it as a weapon. So for instance, I'm going to go a little bit slow here. If an opponent punched, see, I could block. Now I'm blocking with my arm, but I could stick this in his arm here, see, and then to follow through up into his eye. So for instance, maybe he punches at me, I block, I stick into his groin. From here, I could strike up into his throat, see. From here, he punches at me, I block, I move around and bring this into his throat this way, or his eye here. Many different ways. I don't have to block, he punches at me, I move out of the way to stick this into his eye, in his groin, see? Now the side of his neck. Maybe he punches at me, I block, strike. See, from here I put it in his ear, I could put it in his eye, his neck, his back. See? So many different things that you could do with a pin. Maybe he grabs me, see, and I just do something here, see, and then strike him. Or he grabs with the other hand. You'd never see this coming up into his groin, see. Now I grab his hair and put it in his eye, all right? Now just because I've got a pin in my hand doesn't mean that's the only thing I'm going to use. Don't ever neglect your body. Maybe he grabs me, see, I strike him here and then strike him, all right? Or maybe he grabs here, see, strike here to his groin. Now from here, see, I stick into his solar plexus. So many things that you could do. So if he punches, I strike him. He punches, see, strike up into his throat. So anything that you can find, a credit card would cut somebody. Keys would rake across somebody's face. That would save your life. An ashtray that you might have sitting next to your bedstand at night. Even though you don't smoke, maybe you set one there because it doesn't look out of place. Somebody breaks into your house, maybe tries to attack you while you're in bed. All you have to do is grab that ashtray. But know different ways to use it. It's very important. One of the things now that I'd like to describe to you are different ways that you can use your chair. You know, people think that because you're in a chair that you really can't defend yourself, but all of the vulnerable places on his body I can still get to. You know, he's taller than me, but if I strike him to the groin and bring him down, he is still my height now, see? Then I could strike him or whatever. So with my chair, though I can't do a kick with my feet, I do a kick with my chair. So what I would do is use the metal in my chair, for instance, to strike into his shin, bringing his head down, then to strike him. There's many different things I could do. I could sweep a man's leg out with my chair. If he punched at me, I could block here, strike to his groin. Now I move the footrest of my chair into his leg, sweeping it out. See, now from here, I could punch, strike. Different ways to use your chair. If he punches at me, I might block, strike him. I sweep his leg out. Now from here, what I would do is to stomp into his groin this way, and then punch him. He may punch at me, block, strike. From here, I flip him. Now from here, see, what I would do is to stomp to his face, or maybe just use the edge of my chair to scrape to his ear. A lot of things I could do. I can't knee, for instance, but if he punched, I block. I use the corner of my chair here to strike, or I actually bring my chair up to him and strike as I'm bringing him down. He could punch at me, I could block, strike. As I bring him down this way, I bring his arm up and break here. See? Strike. See? Several ways to use your chair. You know, I don't look like a fighter because I'm in a chair. And that's an advantage for me. Another advantage is that my chair feels no pain. So if he moves up and grabs me, for instance, from here all I have to do is to strike into his leg. Then I could hurt him from there. If he grabbed with the other hand, this is perfect because here I strike into his shin. Or maybe what I do is just use the wheels, see here, and stomp, then strike him. So many different ways to use yourself. Chairs that have brakes on them. Some of them, for quads, for instance, the brake extensions release. You could pull that off and use that as a weapon. Armrests that are on a chair. I don't have any on this chair, but armrest, people think, well, gee, you could pull those off. I've seen other fighters do it, but it's too slow. It's like trying to reach into your pocket for something. It's got to be easily accessible to you. or it can't be used as a tool in fighting. Let's say that this opponent comes in and maybe he chokes me from behind. If he chokes me from here, what I'm going to do is just to reach back and grab his leg, and I'm going to move into him as I sweep it out. From here, I strike to his groin or come into his eyes. If he were to choke me, for instance, what I would do is I would claw here to get him to let go. See, now I come in this way. See, break. He could come in. It's just something as easy. Maybe he puts me in a bear hug, where I can't bring my arms up this way, but I can bring them down. So I pinch the inside of his leg, then I elbow up. Strike, punch, whatever kind of follow through. Doesn't always have to be an extremely hard strike. There are many, many kinds of pressure points. You know, maybe he comes in and he chokes me. See, if I just come up this way and grab to his arm, there's a little pressure point. Brings his hair down, see. From there, I can take him down. So a lot of different things you could do. Even if it's just taking him off balance, maybe he chokes. See, from here, all I do is I just move into his leg this way, then strike his groin. See? Bring him around, stomp to his groin, punch him. I could block kicks with my chair even. If he were to kick at me, just stop him here, see? Then strike into his throat, you know? Blocking punches from behind. You know, if you can't sense it, people say, well, what happens if somebody comes up behind you and hits you with a baseball bat? Well, I go down like everybody else would. If I know, if some kind of sense tells me that a punch is coming or a kick is coming, I'm going to do my best to try and turn to block the punch. So as he starts to punch, I'm going to move, strike, see, this way. So, you know, you've got to have something going for you. I don't care if you're on your feet or not. For somebody who's trying to get behind you, it's really very difficult for this man to get behind me because I am turning on a much smaller radius than he is. So as he tries to get behind me, see, it's easy. He can't. There's no way for him to get behind me. Doesn't matter what he tries to do, I can keep him out here with my feet or my footrest. If a man was trying to get behind me, I wouldn't let him continue to try. As he moves and he tries to get behind me, see, I strike him, see, and then go for his eyes or whatever. But it's important that you understand that when you're in your chair, even though it seems like your mobility isn't quite as good as somebody who's on their feet, because you don't have lateral movement, doesn't mean that it's easy for them to get behind you. Mobility skills are extremely important whether you're standing up or sitting down, and it's up to you to learn different ways to maneuver. Because I can't move laterally, what I do is I maybe turn my chair out to get behind an opponent. So when he punches, see, then I can move out, strike, punch. So lots of ways that you can move. In defense against a knife, it's important that you understand that it's just an extension of his arm. If you were to take any other thought into your mind, like he might cut me, you've lost half the battle. So it's important that you just consider that if he could cut you with a knife, he probably could have punched you with his fist. So in this first attack, what he's going to try and do is just slash me across my face. So real slow, as he starts to strike, I'm going to move inside and I'm going to block up high against his wrist so that I can control the arm with the knife. Punch into his groin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll my forearm up underneath and put pressure on his wrist to make him drop the knife. From here, see, strike him. So as he strikes, move in. Don't stay outside. Move in. Punch into his groin. Grab to the bend of his arm and roll your forearm up onto the back of his hand. Put pressure here to make him drop the knife. Forearm strike, punch. So as he punches, come here. From a standing position, as the opponent tries to slash across the face, move inside as you block and palm, holding on to the hand that has the knife. What you're going to do is move to the bend of his arm, bring his arm up. You're going to move in and then step back around, making the opponent drop the knife. Follow up with a punch. Again, real slow as the opponent tries to slash. Block, controlling the arm. Go to the bend. Pressure on his arm and wrist for the leverage. Punch to the temple. With some speed as the opponent tries to slash. This particular block, you're going to move inside and outside at the same time. As he strikes down, I'm moving in and to the outside to block. I bring it through and catch with my left hand. I'm going to come underneath his arm and turn, come in this way. I twist up on his wrist to make him drop the knife and punch here to the spine. Again, real slow. He strikes down, block, moving in, carry it through to here. Catch with your left hand. Swing underneath this way, make him drop. Strike to his spine. So as he strikes, here's the same kind of movement from a standing position. As the opponent strikes down, stepping out with your left, bringing the arm underneath behind him. You're going to go underneath his arm, turn, and twist up on the wrist to make him drop the knife and punch to the spine. Again, as the opponent punches, step out with your left, bring his arm all the way through. Catch with your left, step underneath with your right, and out with your left. Twist up on the wrist to make him drop the knife, punch to the spine. With some speed. For this particular technique, it's as if the opponent had a knife at my throat. So as he grabs, puts a knife here, what you're going to do is you're going to come up with your right hand and you're going to push this away from your throat. At the same time, you're going to punch to his groin. Controlling this arm still, I'm going to come up and put my thumb on the back of his hand, my fingers go into the palm, and I'm going to leverage down to make him drop the knife. From here, I'm going to backhand into his groin. I'm going to reach down to grab this leg, sweep him out from here, stomp to his groin, punch to his eye. One more time, slow. He grabs and puts the knife at my throat. I move this out this way as I punch to the groin. Put my thumb on the back of his hand, my fingers here in the palm, and leverage down to make him drop the knife. Backhand to the groin, put my hand on his shoulder, my right hand down on his leg, sweep him out. From here, stomp to the groin, punch to his eye. Fast, puts it here, yeah, yeah,